The realm of cryptocurrency is becoming complex. Coinbase kind of highlights the fact that it may actually delist tokens which the SEC considers as a security. Now that actually means there's a lot of coins on that list, including Cardano. So you actually see big cap assets being focused. And they are all looking at those tokens, and now you see BlackRock, MicroStrategy, and all the other equation where money is moving into Bitcoin. But then you actually have to keep this in mind. Coinbase cites the Ripple's ruling. That does mean that these exchanges, their lawyers, their research team all understand the fact that XRP is not a security, and that's the reason why they are using it, which means XRP is going to have a huge advantage. At the same time, you do get this info where it kind of gives you the idea that Binance has sold all their USDC, which actually shows, yeah, they're not interested in that. Why? One of the primary reasons for that is that, the US regulatory environment doesn't actually look good. They're screwing Binance and they want to actually slowly move out. So one of the reasons can be that. But still, the total cap of USDC dropping from 33 to 21 now means it's only Tether, which is having the biggest chunk of the market. So you do have to look around for assets with regulatory clarity, and that's where XRP comes in. So what are we looking at in the price action side of things? Because this is the market which we are looking at. We do see some of these assets are moving. We do see some movements here and there in the market, but not all assets are moving, because if you just turn that mirror, you can actually see some of them dropping today. With the news, with the narratives coming in, you do see some of them dropping. So you have to keep the narrative like, okay, which of these are actually trending higher, which of them are starting to drop. That kind of narrative is going to give you the best ability in this market. So if you do look for opportunities in this market, you can actually find these before they break higher. And you do get the measured move and the take profit regions from the charts itself, and then the price action works. So you do have ability to see these assets are running higher. Now, when we actually look at the alerts where we call out the breakouts, this was one of them, right? A couple of days back, we actually see if you have patience to hold on to a trade for a week, 2, 3, whatever time horizon you choose, you do get to see all those targets being hit. The top target here was, now this is a short-term chart, and that shows you 0.25, closed out was the target. Right now you're at 0.288. Now we have other updates and charts, that's a different story, but keep this in mind. The market is not moving much. We're still at $1.2 trillion, which means the money is moving in and around within this market. That is one of the reasons why you actually see some assets taking off. And before they actually say, if you look at SHIB, it's moving. If you look at Gala, it's moving. And it does have volume. That's the reason why I'm not actually using these two. That's not decent volume to trade. I consider those super risky, even though they are in the top 100, right? And if you actually go look at what we were following, we already had all these calls up on that. Let it be SHIB, let it be other assets. It's actually moving up. And when we had the SIA call, it was already halfway to the target, the retest. If you're taking the targets, profits, you get to do that. So now, if you actually come into the market and look at XRP with the same argument that, yeah, we have some of these assets slowing down. We have the Bitcoin itself doing pretty much nothing for last couple of days and staying close to $29,000. That means, yeah, you do have the entire market following that. But what's more interesting is that if you look at XRP, you can look at this and say easily that, yeah, the price is coming back down. The major support level is here, close to 0.56, 0.58, 0.6 range. However, if you actually look at one thing, the trend line which you can form here comes back down to 0.47. But look at the RSI. It kind of shows you now this is a trend line. If you actually plot that trend line, we are now at that trend line. So if you actually get a bounce from this trend line, that is going to be positive. Why? that shows you a hidden divergence. The price has not yet reached the bottom, but the RSI did reach that, meaning that amount of sellers came in to push the price lower, but it didn't drop that low, which means the bulls are stronger. That's the hidden divergence there. You actually can use Google and find out divergence and hidden divergence, or else you can actually go through some of these. Like, not everyone remembers everything every now and then. So it's better to have the divergence. It's better to really have the hidden divergence. It's easy. Say some of the times, there are times when you actually forget, like you see a candle and you won't actually understand, like, what's the probability of this candle? What's the probability of this candle? So it's better to always educate yourself, revise the charts so you know what you're watching. And right now, the daily close just came in, and this is what you're watching, and exactly one of the patterns which I just showed you. Why does that matter? Because when you look at this, you need to understand whether the price is going down, whether the price is going up, and where are you getting this. If you're getting this at the bottom, that shows you 70% odds that bulls are entering there. So you're trying to show a bottom. Great. And RSI kind of suggests that, yeah, that's true. So the daily close is showing you that this region has been the ABC pattern. The chances or the odds for that being the ABC pattern is now higher. How do we account for that? We can actually put the argument and say, like, okay, it actually took us around 24 days to reach such a level. Great. So then we go back in time. We want to actually see, like, okay, what's the time horizon where we ran up like this and then hit the bottom. So that was somewhere close to 47 days in the first run up here, whereas in the run up before that was like 50 days. You kind of get the idea there. But when the momentum to the upside is much higher, if you actually look for that, now that is along with the SEC volatility, but if not for that, you will see a similar time horizon. Now, am I saying we're going to skyrocket tomorrow morning? No, I'm not sure about that. No one knows. Why? If you look for the daily, we are going to the downside in the MACD. Now, the trend line in the MACD is still showing you the fact that this level has not yet been reached. You may have a little bit more to the downside. So that's the divergence in the moving averages, MACD, right? So moving averages, divergence, and conversion. So you actually get to see the fact that, okay, that's happening. So on a higher time frame, this is the one of the most important point, and I'll always reiterate this point here. Why is that? Because you need to actually keep your eyes focused on a higher time frame structure, saying, okay, if we are slowing down at this point, which means we may actually come back down to this support, and we need to see that bounce. Now look at the RSI. This level of RSI as a trend line support has been valid from a long period of time, going back all the way to last year, June. So that means we may actually get some decent level of buying power coming into the market close to this range. Now, are we there yet? Not yet, for sure, not yet. But if you actually look for a trend line, we are now reaching that trend line. So one of the primary thing I'm looking at here is that can we really bounce off from that line? And if we do, now that becomes something like the recent past. This was your trend line and you came back and retested about that level. If that happens, it's even better. Now, you go to another structure which is even back, the macro, the monthly, higher time frame structure. Is there any change in the MACD? No, there is no much change here. So is your direction changing? No, it's still the same. Your direction was this. You were going all the way to the upside. In between, you will get these volatility. So if you are a short-term trader trying to time the market like these, now it takes a lot of time, effort, studying, staying updated with the charts. But if you're a long-term investor looking at this and saying, I actually got a breakout, I got the indicator saying go in, now I really don't care until that say, okay, get out, right? So you use the RSI divergence as an entry or the confirmation in MACD as an entry, great. But then you can again use the RSI as an exit Or you can actually use MACD as an exit. But you won't get the perfect top and the bottom, but you are going to gain massively because it's a monthly chart. That means you're just starting here. There's going to be a lot of resistance. There's going to be a lot of volatility for sure. Institutions now see that regulatory clarity for this asset is there in the United States. And that means the world is about to adopt this technology. We are watching that happening everywhere. We're watching how things are evolving around the globe. So if you actually go look at all these announcements, you actually can see things are evolving. But one of the important things is that institutions are jumping on. When you read through this, when you listen to all these updates and stay educated about this asset, now you actually get to understand like, okay, this is something really serious. The world is actually rolling out like this. One of the primary thing I'm looking at is like, okay, you have like these nations, these set of countries where it's like 70, 80, 90% of internet usage. So that means if they are going to push the CBDCs, it's actually going to be quicker in those regions, which actually shows much bigger frame of structure. Now, when we actually go into each of these and look through them, we understand the fact. Say one of the tweets which I saw here is like about, the digital assets adoption in India and Sirbai talking about it. So if you remember, this guy was in Ripple. He had the paper for the IMF. He actually went through a lot of discussion as a Ripple executive. We've listened to all those videos. We've broken that down here in the channel. So we actually kind of have the idea of how things are evolving. And then you look at the swap market, then you look at the derivatives market. It's like $1 trillion industry where Ripple is entering. And that is a game changer. There is no doubt in that. We've been talking about this stuff for at least 2.5 years in this channel here. And if you see things evolving in the same direction, that means, yeah, we've been slow because of the SEC, but now things are changing and each announcements are coming faster than what we have seen in the last couple of years. That means buyers, the bulls, they're going to double down. Where? That's the primary question. Like everyone wants to know the exact bottom and the exact top, which is going to be super hard to pick. But if you're here in the market where you say, okay, guys, I understand that the market is going to do something like this, but I will be happy if I can buy this asset somewhere here and sell it somewhere here, not at the exact bottom or not at the exact top. You still get to take this range. Now, if you have the expertise to understand that the market is showing you a bottom, then you can buy there. But just the issue is you may have to wait further. What do I mean by that? Let's get in detail. You can do this. You don't need the help from anyone else to match this. You can just take in the RSI. You can go in maybe a daily chart if you want to. You can go on a weekly chart, depending on your style, depending on how fast of a trader you are or an investor you are. I personally use like a weekly or a 3-day chart where I look for the divergence, which actually suggests that, okay, here you actually got one. That's a strong divergence. Now, if you want to actually go on a monthly, it's a different story. You'll actually see the exact same thing. Then the trend actually changes from that area. Great. Now, what do you actually see when you come into the price action? Say on a daily chart or a 3-day chart, when you actually enter into the divergence side of things for XRP, the interesting factor here is that you are able to see the price going down and the RSI saying, nah, I'm going to the upside. So that's why that has been the bottom. That's the primary reason. Now go back in time and look at this. Price was going down, but at that time RSI was saying, nah, I'm making a double bottom. That was it. That was your bottom. The exact same thing goes to the top. You get to see where the price stops off. You can take your profits. We have done that a couple of times in these runs up at the top, not at the bottom or close to that. But it's like, you have to stick with the charts. You have to put the price alerts. You have to follow these all time. And now, if you are not willing to do that, it's completely fine. If you're looking for the market to do a 10x and you're happy with 7x, that's better. You don't need to stress out to pick the top and bottom. It's kind of too hard for the market unless you stay super updated with the market. Even at that time, you may miss the top and bottom for sure. The market can go against you at any one point of time. So if you actually look at XRP in a precise factor, saying, okay, we do keep an understanding that this range has been an attractive one for XRP, where if you were a buyer, you got 434 days to buy in. Now you broke through that range. Now we are coming back to retest that. So if you happen to miss this range, now this would be the best area for you to buy before the price actually goes back higher and pumps off. Once it does that, there is no point in saying, I should have bought more. Because I know people individually, face to face, where they were saying like, I should have bought some here before the major breakout. Now when the prices come back down, I'm seeing some of them are looking for a lower price point. Some of them are looking for the trend lines to be met. I'm like, yeah, trend line is valid, I agree. But the issue is we broke out from a range which has been active for a long period of time. So looking for the exact breakout of 0.55 can be crazy here, because we do have the support at 0.6. We do have the support at 0.58. We have a big range of support resistance in this zone, which means you would get more and more and more buyers entering. So you may have to go on micro level charts to follow things up and see where we form a divergence, because once you see a divergence, you don't have to think twice. But yeah, don't go into an hourly chart for divergence, because yeah, it does work if you're a trader. If not, it does not work well, right? Trend lines, however, kind of gives you an idea to see, okay, this is your trend line. So unless you break this range, you're going to come back down. Even if you see XRP bouncing towards 0.66, that's going to be a resistance. Great. You may get rejected. So what's the range which you would be, or which you should be looking at that point? It can be this. If it breaks this down, now you're looking for 0.6. You may actually drop from there to 0.58, 0.6 region. So short-term price action is like this. Then you go look at Bitcoin, at least say on a daily chart or a weekly chart, and look for the trend. Has that trend changed yet? Not yet. So unless you see this being invalidated, don't go negative. There would be a lot of different guys giving you negative aspects. There will be a lot of different guys giving you ultra bullish stance. Right now, look for the MACD. What happens whenever the MACD crosses to the upside? Whether it's in a trend to the downside, you still do a bounce from 26,000 to 28,000, $2,000 bounce, right? Towards the resistance. That's the important point to keep in mind. This was the resistance. You had a couple of points. If you extended that, you already understood that. The moment you broke this trend line, boom, you went up. That's the exact same thing I just described about XRP. Now, look for this. You had a fake out. If not, this is a trend line. Great. Even in that sense, we are still trending higher. We are still doing something which we have done again and again and again. So if we break this trend line, yeah, that's a danger sign. You come back to 23. But if you're bouncing off from that trend line, one of the primary things to note here is that this range will be broken, which is an important zone. Because as soon as the price breaks through 31K, now you'll see maniac price action. Now you'll see extreme FOMO, because those who missed out waiting for, lower numbers of 15, 10, 12, whatever they wanted, they will all jump back in. Now, why am I pointing towards that direction? Look at the trend line here, formation of the RSI. You don't have too much room to the downside, do you? Now, if you have a different thought process saying, Danny, what about this? Danny, what about that? Great. Let me know. Ask that in the comment section. We'll discuss through that and see what's possible, who is missing what, right? So now we are zooming out on a 3-day horizon where you're looking for the trend line and sees like, okay, it's fine. This is what you're watching. You're getting closer to that trend line. Great. That means you're getting closer to a support region, which actually is positive. Now, if you actually want to go to a weekly, go to a monthly, do the exact same thing, you will see that the price action is not bearish. I mean, I wouldn't actually look at this and say it's bearish. Divergence, negative, it's there. There is no doubt in that. It actually shows like, if you watch for price actions like this, you will understand the fact that, okay, once you break through this, you may actually slow back down. But what changes the trend is if you break through at least 40 to 50% of the last candle, now bulls are getting kicked. Sure, for sure. So if you actually see the price action going below 27, 28 range, now that's a concern. But keep in mind, we do have a divergence here. What do I mean by that? The local divergence here is forming on a weekly. That's not a small thing. But you don't have a confirmation yet because you haven't actually formed a new lower low or a higher low. You haven't actually done that. We are still working out on that trend. So this is a possibility where the price is trying to go higher, but the RSI rejects it. It says, I don't have that amount of strength. That's a key thing to watch in Bitcoin at a time when XRP doesn't agree on that point, at a time when XRP, XLM, all these other assets are getting more money in. That's huge actually. Now, same on a weekly, on a monthly, whenever you are watching for this, you do look for the divergence. And if you don't see them, don't try to make one. Because if that doesn't exist in the chart, don't try to, make things up saying this is the possibility. So this is dollar, which we have talked before, and the last day, I was sorry I couldn't do a video yesterday. There was some church meetings gathering here, and time actually went way more than I thought. Now, think about this. Last day, when I talked about this, I told if the price action is slowing down here, that means we may get rejected. Watch what happens. You actually get a hammer pattern here, the daily chart showing you a hammer. What did I say? The probability for that is 80%. If you actually look for that, which means you have a small wick to the upside, a small wick to the downside. So that's the bottom signal. If you shift that, this is the top signal where you get this. You get a little bit of wick to the downside, a long wick to the upside. That's 80% odds. That's the local top. What happens? The price drops. So staying updated and well-educated helps in the market, and it helps massively. Because some of these times you have to actually understand what's happening in the stock market, how things are evolving. See, Apple, the drop here is crazy. I mean, you do have another leg down in this scenario. But now ask this question to yourself. You actually go on a macro chart, you're watching this and saying, okay, that doesn't look good. It's a monthly candle just showing you the pattern in the price action as we discussed, which means you have a long way to the downside. That pattern is now getting confirmed. Now, yes, this is a monthly candle and it's just been 5 days. You can come close to 150, 160 or stay there as a supportive range of 170. We don't know. But then you zoom in and say, okay, that doesn't look good because that's a double top. Meaning you take into a line chart and watch this. That's a double top. And what's more important to know is that it's breaking a huge trend. Meaning it has been following this trend line for some time, and the moment it's breaking that trend line, it really doesn't look any good. I mean, give me a break, guys. I mean, that drop was massive, and now it's coming back down. What can be the possible support? I'm not saying it's dropping like 50-60% for the time being. Now you're looking for this. Okay, this pattern has been valid. This was staying all these times, which means when the price comes close towards 160, 165, you may find some buyers coming back and believing, okay, this was the channel in which you were going up. You broke that, you're retesting that, and you're going to bounce. That expectation will be still there in the market. But yeah, you'll have to go through different assets, the market, everything to understand that. But the local bottom for XRP, the chance for that is high. I just told you about that, right? We just talked about that possibility, why this candle is there. But even at that time, keep this in mind. Say you actually get a candle. Now, this is not the perfect drawing, but you actually get a candle like this saying, okay, that's a possible hammer. Great. The next candle actually can go down till here and then go back up, which means on a daily, it can still look like the price actually, now that's bad. I'll actually use a rectangle. It feels embarrassing for myself. See, it would actually look like this. It can actually go back higher and have a wick to the downside like this. So that means it actually fake out. When it drops, at one point it would actually look like I'm going down. Sellers may double down. The price goes back up. They are trapped here. Either they get liquidated or they move out. So these kind of movements you have to actually anticipate in the market. Those movements actually can create opportunities. One of the reasons for that is the ABC pattern itself. If you actually follow the price action and say, yeah, this is a possible thing where the price action is doing the ABC, great. We actually got that. It's fine. Now, if you are looking for the exact bottom to pick the bottom, it's going to be hard unless you split your buying power into 10 and buy at each micro supports. It's going to be hard for you to actually get onto that range. So don't try to do that. You can, but it kind of stresses you out, puts more cortisol into your brain. Your critical thinking ability goes down. You really don't want that. What you want is to keep the oxytocin in. Be bright, be sharp when you're looking at the charts. You don't want stress when you are doing this. That's one of the most critical thing to consider. So guys, if you received value, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want updates like this before the breakout happens, the breakout calls, if you actually want those, look for the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. And guys, I'm so thankful for each and every one of you who are literally smashing and obliterating that like button. I'm so happy to see all you guys doing that. And at least, in the 59 comments, I would say, 90% of them were serious, positive. I'm really happy. And I'm happy to actually hear a lot of people are learning. They're spending the time, taking the effort to thrive in the market, not just looking at the random YouTubers and saying, I'm going to buy, I'm going to sell, but they're taking the effort to learn on a regular basis. That's critical. Once you take profits, now you really know how you made this profit. So you can actually repeat this. If not, it's going to be hard. The portfolio will be wiped out within a year or two. You don't want to do that. Great. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.